So this next unit is all about corporate identity, and we're going to be learning about logos. And logos are just one aspect of a company's corporate identity. Usually, corporate identity encompasses everything. It reflects the mission, and it also reflects who the client is trying to sell their product to, so their clientele. Um, it has usually a designer look and feel to it, goes with their brand. And so a lot of research goes into corporate identity for a company. So as a designer, you have to look at what is that identity? Who is the company trying to sell their product to? So some examples of corporate identity. These are some slides of Martha Stewart. Her company is called Omni Studios, and she has a variety of magazines. She also does TV shows. She has furniture. She has paint. She has all kinds of products that are all related to this kind of clean, modern feeling. And when Martha Stewart came out back in the 90s, she became very popular. She had started her career as a she had a catering company out east, and she gradually became a national icon. And now she does all kinds of stuff. But when she first started, this font that she uses didn't really exist out there, and she really popularized this kind of clean, bold sans serif font, meaning there's no little tails on the lettering. And she really made a big deal of this, and made it really popular in a variety of magazines and a variety of other publications. Starbucks is another example of a company that has a certain corporate identity, and their corporate identity has changed over the years. They started out as these very individualized kinds of coffee houses. They began in Seattle as a local coffee house, and they eventually became an international coffee brand. And so originally it was just about coffee. Eventually they started selling t-shirts, mugs, all kinds of products that relate to the feeling of being at a Starbucks. And so it's very much about the feel of Starbucks, the feel of being in a coffee house. Kind of hip, kind of cool. They even sell CD music collections of the music that you're supposed to feel and listen to when you're in a Starbucks. So all corporate identity starts with a logo. A company has to have a good logo in order for them to be recognizable, and in order for people to know who they are. And logos come in different types. So you can see here, this is the Nike swoosh logo. When Nike first started out, no one knew what Nike was. So when they first designed the logo, they actually put the word Nike on the swoosh because no one really knew what it was. Eventually, they got rid of the name of the company because everyone recognizes that swoosh sign. And you might see it in color or in black and white, but usually for Nike, it's red. So a good logo is easy to recognize and read really quickly. It can be enlarged really big or shrunk down really small, and it's still readable and effective. So most logos don't have sort of those gradients. They don't usually have like see-through layers and things like that. They're usually very straightforward, a couple of colors to show and to let people know this is this company. So we're going to look at some historic corporate identity folks, and the first is Saul Bass, and he was a designer for a company called Bass and Yeager. They were located in Los Angeles. But he's also known, he didn't just design logos, he did that, but he also designed movie titles. If you've ever seen the movie Psycho, he designed the opening title sequence, and he also designed the storyboards that planned out the famous shower scene. If you've never seen Psycho, you should probably see it. It's a pretty amazing movie. At least watch it up until the shower scene so you can see his great credits at the beginning and a really dramatic, kind of pretty scary scene. So he's been known for a long time as one of the top designers. And like I said, he did logo and graphic design. Paul Rand is considered sort of the grandfather of modern design. So he was a designer even before. So as I was saying, he is a designer even before Saul Bass. He is known for designing the original UPS logo. The one with the little W's is Westinghouse. The ABC logo, which they've changed a little, but you can sometimes still see the original version of this design. So he's known for his clean, modern feeling to his designs, especially featuring logos. Another really famous logo story is the CBS eye. And I don't know if you realize that CBS's logo is, in fact, supposed to be an eye. It was designed by William Golden and Kurt Weiss, and they actually based it on, if you've ever been to Pennsylvania, there are a lot of Pennsylvania Dutch barns, and those barns have what are called hex symbols painted on the sides of them, and one of the hex symbols is what they call the evil eye, and it's supposed to keep away evil spirits and stuff. So anyway, this is based on they were out in the country and they saw this symbol, and they thought it was really cool, and the idea of watching TV was kind of pretty new in 1951. So this is the original design of the CBS logo, and you can see how it's changed over the years, and if you look at the different years listed there, you can kind of tell when computers started to be a thing and when TV changed enough to where graphics were really part of it. They also tried to kind of, in the 90s, get it to look more like it's very metallic and kind of textured. In 1983, it's got almost like a movement to it. And then things go more clean and simple again in the late 90s and then on into 2000. So a lot of times a company will stick with their logo, but they'll make adjustments to it ever so slightly to kind of portray what they want to portray. So there are three types of logo designs. The first one is symbol, and that means that the logo is a picture only. So sometimes you call these pictographs, and basically it's an image that stands for the company. So you've got two here for Apple. The rainbow one is their original logo, and the red apple is from around the 90s. Now they have a more simplified kind of metallic looking one. And then the one up above it is the NBC peacock. And back when I was a little kid, you would watch NBC, and when they'd go off the air, believe it or not, TV channels were not on the air all the time. So they'd end their day of programming and they'd go off the air, and they'd show the peacock, and the peacock would like open its feathers. So watch TV closely on NBC, and you might actually see the peacock sometimes. They still use it every once in a while. But the goal of the peacock was to show off color. And so the logo, they changed that and invented that part of their logo because they were offering color TV for the first time in the 1960s and into the 70s, when that was not that wasn't something everyone had. So logo designs that are symbols only. The next type is a typography and symbol design. So it's that idea that there's a word and a picture. And a lot of new businesses opt for this logo style because not everyone knows the name of the business. So it's a great way for their client base to get to know them. And so Starbucks, for example, has the mermaid, and they have the name Starbucks Coffee. McDonald's usually has the word McDonald's in the golden arches, but I think they are a company that could probably get rid of the name and you would still know it's McDonald's because of the arches, but they keep it there as a reminder of who they are. FedEx, if you never noticed this before, there's actually an arrow right here between the E and the X. So it creates movement. It feels like the word is moving swiftly because that's what FedEx is. They deliver packages and they want them to move swiftly. The third logo type is the idea of only having typography. And sometimes a company will choose a certain font. They might even design their own font. And they will create a logo that's based just on the type. So some of them sometimes are based on signatures. So Disney this is Walt Disney's signature. So their font, their logo is his signature, which is kind of cool. These you might argue, well, they're on something, they're on a shape, but ultimately it's just the word. And Fiat is a really old Italian car company, so these are some of their early versions of the name, and now this one is a much more modern, clean feel. Stussy is another one, so again, that one's more of a signature type. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be choosing a company, and we'll see what the companies are in just a little bit. You're going to be creating 12 thumbnail designs that illustrate radial, symmetrical, and asymmetrical balance. They need to be in full color marker. And the thumbnails that you create are going to be handed in. I'd like to see them done by hand rather than digital. I have some reasons for that, so I want you to draw them, not do them digitally. And you're going to meet with me to kind of talk through which of the logos you feel is the best for your company. So that's kind of part one of this assignment, okay? You need to make sure that the logo meets the needs of your client as far as colors, theme, cost, what they're trying to say about themselves as a company. So just to review, radial balance, remember, is that type of balance where everything radiates off of a central point, kind of like a flower. A lot of you practiced radial balance with your first idea for your shape assignment. And these are a couple additional radial balance, a little more, less specific, but and a few more. Okay, so I always think of radial balance as sort of that kaleidoscopic look. Asymmetrical balance is that idea of using the rule of thirds. It feels more informal, and it plays around with white space and negative space in a design. So this is a web page, and you can see that it's balanced kind of in that capital L. There's a lot of angles usually in this style, this asymmetrical design. So there's a bunch going on over here, but it's balanced by a pretty big area of almost white space. This is another example of asymmetrical balance. It's very popular in web design, especially. Not as much now that we all have phones, because phones tend to be kind of centered. But when web design took off in the 90s and into the 2000s, asymmetrical balance was really popular, partly because a lot of the controls for the website were down the left side. And then, of course, symmetrical balance is the one where everything is weighted equally down a middle. So this is a nice example of a graphic design piece that's, two circles on either side. It's very symmetrically balanced, both horizontally as well as vertically. This is an example of a movie poster that is symmetrically balanced. You've got the straight up and down her face, and then everything is kind of centered off of that, so symmetry. So part one of your assignment is to do the thumbnails, and then part two is you're going to actually be creating a digital version of that logo using either Gravit or Illustrator. And then part three is you're going to be actually creating a stationery system for the client, and the stationery system includes letterhead, an envelope. Sorry, I had a meeting that interrupted my recording, so I hope this works. So I think that you will be, let me start again. Someone just knocked on my door again. So, okay, here we go. So the other part of your assignment, so part one, as I said, is designing the logo. Part two is designing the stationery system, which is letterhead, business card, and an envelope. And then the third part of what you'll be designing is a realistic package, a product. So you get to decide, for example, let's say you were designing for a coffee company, you might design a bag of their coffee, okay? Or let's say you were designing for your own business and you wanted to do a t-shirt design, you would do that. So the third part of the assignment that you have to design is some sort of realistic package design. And as part of this, if you want to think about designing and using the Innovation Center, you could. So we have access to the vinyl cutter. We have access to a laser etching machine. We have access to a 3D printer. So if you wanted to 3D print something, like a little keychain or something like that, you could. So those are the three parts of the assignment that you'll be doing. So logo is just the beginning. So the companies that you have to choose from, one is the PHS store, and this is the one that I kind of have the least amount of info on because I haven't been able to talk to Mr. Strauss. So as part of this, you would need to talk to Mr. Strauss and find out what he needs, what he might already have. But if you had an interest in designing logo and other materials for the new PHS store, this is one of them. Obviously, the budget is small because it's a school thing. I think it's pirate themed because everything they're selling in the store is pirate themed, but I'm not sure. So this one, if you choose to do it, you'd have to meet with Mr. Strauss and talk to him a little bit more. The next one is called Caldi. It's a coffee shop, and this was an actual real coffee shop that I used to go to in California back when I lived there. So you can see that they are a low budget but high energy. They want to emphasize that they're hip and artsy. They're kind of quirky and creative. They want to talk about, that this is a great place to meet for creative type of people. They sell t-shirts, mugs, and their own coffee. They are really concerned with attracting people and making their name recognized citywide. They're also concerned about looking environmental. They use only organic, natural, green products. I don't mean the color green, but products that are organic and natural. They do not want to look like Starbucks. So they can afford black and white plus one more color max. The third company is called El Dante Pasta. It's an artisanal pasta company. They want a design that does not use the cliche kind of Italian restaurant, Italian flag colors. They want something more creative. They can afford 3 colors. They have a mid-budget, but they want a high-quality look for that. They produce pastas that go into smaller, fancier grocery stores. They also are a restaurant as well. So they want people to instantly recognize their pastas and sell packaged pasta to gourmet grocery stores. The fourth company is called Zip and Clip, and it's the idea of a zip line company. Actually, I think it's supposed to be clip and zip because you have to clip before you zip. Sorry. But anyway, it's a mid-low budget. They want to feel creative, fun, and fresh. The logo would portray a feeling of speed and excitement of ziplining while being hip and modern. They want people to feel like they need to try ziplining even if they've never tried it before. And the colors should relate to speed, maybe nature, modern feeling. They can only afford 2 to 3 colors, though. They hate black, and they don't want any black in their design. So that is it for what the companies are. So you're going to be starting out with research and creating thumbnails of your logo design first. But that's the whole overall assignment. Hope that's helpful.